Arrest them all, she screamed. Right in broad daylight, right at my own ranch office. And let me tell you, nothing wakes you up faster than hearing 6 guys in Halloween cop costumes try to play SWAT on your property. You ever see a grown woman waving a red clipboard like it's the sword of justice, yelling orders at a bunch of wannabe rent-a-cops? Yeah, that happened. And the craziest part is some of them actually believed her, at least until they didn't. I'm sitting at my desk, right sipping on the world's worst office coffee, when the front door bangs open and in marches this squad of fake police handcuffs, swinging one guy with a mustache so bad it looked like he'd glued it on for effect. Everyone stand up. You're all under arrest. My employees froze. 1 or 2 even started crying, and my office manager, Jake, God bless him, tried to hide behind his monitor like the screen would stop a toy badge. And outside there's a crowd. Neighbors I recognize, a couple I definitely don't, all standing around like this is some HOA-sponsored circus. But see, what none of them knew, not even Clipboard Karen herself, was that I'd been ready for this. For 3 months I'd watched her try to turn my ranch office a quarter-mile outside her precious HOA into her own little police state, and I'd had enough. I had a secret lined up, and when it dropped, well, you know what I mean? The air just went electric. Karen, whose real name is Penny Morrison, let's call her Penny, because I don't have the energy for another Karen meme, was standing there stone-faced, clipboard clutched like a lifeline, staring at me. Now Penny, she was a piece of work. Obsessed with community standards, she once measured my grass with a ruler, swear on my mother's recipe book, took pictures of my staff's cars, and sent so many violation emails Gmail flagged her as spam. And those 6 men, not cops. Their uniforms had Amazon Prime written all over them. One even had a sticker that said ages 3+. But she brought an audience, even set up what she called a community emergency briefing, outside waving her hands, reciting a laundry list of made-up violations, 47 in total. She'd even printed up an arrest warrant on her home printer, complete with a gold star that looked like it belonged on a kindergarten chore chart. The leader, Rick Patterson, puffed out his chest and read it like he was auditioning for Law and Order. And through it all, Penny ticked off items on her clipboard, glancing at the crowd every few seconds, making sure everyone saw her in action, queen of the cul-de-sac. You know what's wild? 3 months ago, I had no idea who Penny was. I just ran a small business out here, helped local families buy and sell property, worried mostly about whether the coffee maker was going to catch fire. Then one humid Tuesday morning, I get this envelope under the door, official-looking HOA letterhead, some fancy logo. Notice of violation, non-compliant parking configuration. Fine $200, non-compliant. What? My lot's been the same since I bought it, and it's a quarter-mile outside HOA land. I laughed, tossed the letter. Figured someone was confused, maybe had the wrong address. Big mistake. See, Penny doesn't do wrong address. She does escalation. A week later, there's a second letter hand-delivered by some kid who looked like he'd run for governor if you'd offered him a soda. Meadowbrook Emergency Authority has expanded jurisdiction, it said. 12 new violations. One was excessive business signage, aka my one tiny sign. Another disruption of neighborhood harmony. I think that meant my business existing at all. That's when Jake, social media whiz office manager, conspiracy theory addict, decided to dig. Turns out Penny had lost her house in another state after an ugly foreclosure, then moved in with her sister, and since becoming HOA president, had driven at least 3 other families out with her campaign of harassment. Yeah, she'd been humiliated by a system, and now she was determined nobody would ever question her power again. Jake's research uncovered more. She'd go after people, start small, grass too long, sign not straight, then escalate, document everything, and drown you in official-sounding paperwork until you gave up. What she hadn't counted on was running into someone stubborn with a tech background and too much time on his hands. While she measured my grass, I was learning about property law, actual HOA boundaries, and this is where it gets good, making friends in strange places. Enter Emily Chin. She's the granddaughter of Dorothy Chen, a real-deal HOA board member with zero patience for drama and a law student who volunteered as secretary. Emily called me one night nervous but determined. "Mr. Rodriguez, you need to know what's being said in closed meetings. I can help you prove it." And that, folks, is when Penny made her second big mistake. She assumed everyone around her was as twisted as she was. Emily was a believer in fairness, in real rules, and she knew how to use a smartphone recorder. For weeks, Emily showed up with manila folders, recordings, and note stuff that made my blood run cold. She had everything: meeting minutes where Penny plotted to expand HOA reach, emails where she coordinated with other community enforcers in neighboring counties, audio of Penny laughing. People don't question authority if it looks official enough. We just need the right uniforms, the right paperwork, and the right timing. Rick was there too, bragging about his Amazon uniforms and fake handcuffs and talking about testing their new system on me. But the twist that really hit home was this. One of Penny's officers was Mike Patterson, Sarah's brother, my pregnant accountant. Penny had recruited him knowing full well he'd be traumatizing his own family. She found her men through Craigslist, targeting guys who needed quick cash or had grudges, and handed out business cards for the Meadowbrook Emergency Authority. Looked impressive, sounded fake as Monopoly money. She even wrote detailed psychological profiles on her targets, marking me as the first enforcement action. The plan hit hard, make an example. But Emily also recorded Mike having second thoughts. "My sister works there, man. This feels wrong." That was my window, my one shot to flip the script, so I reached out to Mike, quietly told him I understood, told him he could walk away. The morning of the planned arrest, Sarah called, voice shaking. "Sam, Mike can't go through with it. He wanted you to know they're coming. I told everyone to stay put." Jake, for his part, set up what he called the documentation station, cameras everywhere, live streaming to hundreds of viewers. At exactly 10:00 a.m., Penny paraded in with her fake press conference neighbors, watching her police lining up in matching uniforms that up close looked like last year's Spirit Halloween leftovers. Rick came in first, reading the warrant, trying to sound tough. One guy dropped his handcuffs and the Made in China sticker popped right off. My staff just stared, caught between fear and absurdity. I took a breath, walked over to the giant speaker system I'd installed my ace in the hole. "Before you arrest anybody, Rick," I said, "there's something everyone should hear." And I hit play. Penny's voice, crystal clear, cold as a January wind. "We get creative. People don't question authority if it looks legitimate enough." Then Rick, then Penny, again talking about targeting families, forging warrants, coordinating with outside groups. The room fell silent, fake officers looking at each other, Rick backing toward the door. Sarah stopped crying. Even Maria crossed herself. Jake's live stream was blowing up, over 2,000 people watching, news outlets asking for footage. Then I pulled out Emily's files, Penny's own handwriting calling Rick useful but expendable, listing all the ways her recruits were just fall guys. And that's when Mrs. Chen walked in with Emily, dropped a box of evidence on my desk, and delivered the coup de grace. "Gentlemen, what you're participating in isn't just harassment. It's conspiracy, impersonation, fraud." Emily laid out everything: fake warrants, fake uniforms, financial records showing where the money came from. At that point, half the officers bolted, one stripped off his badge and uniform, muttering about his kids. Rick was left standing there, pale as a ghost, realizing Penny had set him up as the patsy. Meanwhile, outside Penny's press conference was unraveling, neighbors getting the live stream, realizing they'd been duped. Someone held up their phone, playing the recordings for the crowd. Penny was backing away, clutching her clipboard, her whole world caving in. Rick finally spoke. "I thought we were helping the community." Emily just shook her head. "Ignorance isn't a defense when you're committing felonies." 20 minutes later, real black SUVs pulled up, FBI. Not the Halloween kind, the real deal. Agent Martinez walked in, badge flashing, and said, "We've been monitoring Operation Meadowbrook for months. Your live stream gave us the evidence we needed. Turns out Penny's operation was just one node in a national network of HOA corruption coordinated across 3 states. She was arrested on the spot, clipboard finally abandoned. Rick was handcuffed too, looking more relieved than scared. Emily and Mrs. Chin gave their statements as federal witnesses. And as for me, Agent Martinez handed me a USB drive, Penny's National HOA Network database. Hundreds of operations, contact lists, everything. Jake just grinned and said, "Sam, I think we're going to need a bigger channel." So now looking back, I wonder how many of us have been bullied by people like Penny, hiding behind fake authority, thinking no one will stand up to them. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you've lived it. But trust me, documentation, good people, and a little planning can take down the worst of them. If this story hits home, drop your thoughts below. Would you stand up or walk away? Have you ever tangled with a petty tyrant? HOA or otherwise, let's hear it, because as long as there are folks willing to expose the bullies, there's always hope for real justice.